What do you do when you get those negative thoughts in your head, when you wake up and suddenly you're thinking, oh, I've got to do this today, I've got to do that report, I've got all these things to do in my day. You start worrying before you've even started. Or you might be enjoying your day, you might be having a good day, or your day's going okay, at least. And then suddenly something bad happens and all these negative thoughts get triggered off again in your mind. Or suddenly it comes from nowhere. What do you do? What do I do? So this is a question that I've asked myself and got through, and then lots of people have asked me, what do you do? How do I stop these negative thoughts? And actually, I was in a seminar a few months back, or a couple of months back, and there was this woman who said, is it not possible to get rid of all negative thoughts and think positively all the time? Of which me and the other coach there answered, no, it's not. You're never going to be able to stop all negative thoughts, which sounds worrying. But the happiest people in the world, they don't have no negative thoughts. They just deal with them more effectively. And that's the key. It's being able to process the negative thoughts and deal with them. But the other part of it is training your brain to have a more positive mindset more often. So your default setting, your setting of your brain's more positive because you're pumping lots more positivity into you. So you're probably asking, why do I think negative? It's because your brain is a survival mechanism. It is not necessarily looking at you to be happy. It's looking at all the dangers. It's finding problems constantly. And years and years ago, our ancestors would have lions potentially or bears jumping out of them from, I don't know if it's bears, but wild animals anyway, jumping out of them from bushes or behind a tree or something. And then their brain would be constantly looking for these problems, these worries. But in today's world, that doesn't happen as much. But instead, our brain looks at stuff like, oh, I'm worried about getting this report in time. I'm worried about what so-and-so is saying. Because it's looking to survive. It's looking for all these dangers instead. So that's why it thinks like that. It's why it's negative by default. But it's our responsibility, and you have responsibility to be able to try and think more positively by training your brain to do so. So it becomes more positive the majority of the time. So there's two parts. There's first of all, as I said, training your brain to think more positive the majority of the time. But then there's the second part. The second part is what happens when something negative does happen, or suddenly those negative thoughts come on you all of a sudden. What you have to do then is work yourself through a process to be able to bring you back to your positive state. So personally, I'd suggest you start with your morning routine in terms of getting yourself off to as good start as possible. So you're priming your brain to be set up for a good state for the rest of the day. Now you might be thinking, it's going to be a challenge to get up early. Well, yes, it's going to be a bit of work, but it's going to be worth it if you're going to feel better getting those positive thoughts into your brain early on. So my first tip on what you can include in your morning routine is a cold shower. Again, that doesn't sound very nice, does it? But cold showers have shown to produce a number of benefits, including reducing your muscle soreness and mentally preparing you for the day. So they wake you up. I don't think you'll disagree with that. But they also reduce cortisol, which is a stress hormone in the body. And if you reduce that, you're going to reduce negative thoughts. And also the feeling of you've achieved something early on by actually you've managed to have a cold shower, and that's a good start for the day. So that's my first tip. Get a cold shower. You can even start really small by just doing 30 seconds first of all, and then build up. So tip number 2 is breathing. When we don't feel as good, when we've not got positive thoughts, our hearts and our breathing is significantly different from when we're positive. So therefore, if you change your breathing, you can change your thinking more positively. Taking 5-10 minutes in the morning to work on your breathing, just in and out. I do breathe in for, that wasn't 6 seconds obviously, but I breathe in for 6 seconds through my nose and then breathe out through my nose for 6 seconds. But there's plenty of YouTube videos, there's plenty of resources on Google or the internet in general on how you can do breathing exercises. So start your day with some good breathing exercises to encourage more calm and positive thinking. And then my third tip, but there's plenty more, is to learn something, whether that's an audiobook, whether that's a podcast, whether it's a physical book, whether it's a YouTube video. When you take in lots of negative information, whether that's constant comparisons on social media or watching absolute rubbish on the news, then you're going to feed your brain with lots of negativity. But if you start learning and growing and picking up things that are going to be useful for you, you're going to pick up more positivity, and therefore you're going to feel better about your day. So that's my third tip. Okay, my question for you is, what's the thing that knocks you back the most, that starts to cause you negative thoughts? And what can you do about it going forward? Just take time to reflect on that question. So you get all these positive things into your day early on, but then what happens when you have some negative thoughts? Well, these are the tips now. So the first one is going back to the breathing. Taking 10 deep breaths in and out through your nose, just to relax your thoughts. So then my second point is journaling. When your brain thinks negative, it starts to think of all these negative questions. Why is this happening to me? Why does life suck? But if you start asking yourself empowering questions such as, what can I learn from this? What can make me feel good? What's great in my life? You're going to feel a lot better. So start to journal out your thought process of understanding why you're feeling like you are and how you can start to feel good, because you're moving yourself from a negative state to a positive by asking yourself the right questions. And then my final point is just going for a walk or allowing yourself time to think. So this is like no phones, nothing with you. It can just be you and time to reflect. You've got to train your brain to think more positively by default, by doing things in your morning or throughout your day, good habits, but also you need to have a process in place for when you do start to think negative. So this can be coming back to your breathing or your journaling. Remember, you do have power over your negative thoughts. They're never going to go away, but you always have power over managing them. Thank you for watching today, and I hope you have a great day.